There's so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too. They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we revisit some old friends as we are catching up on a few things that we missed from the past before we dive into the 1990s next week. And those old friends are Jimmy Dean, Frank Oz, and Jim Henson, with a little smattering of Don Saleen in the midst.
All the way back to the 60s. That feels bad.
Bad from an enjoyment?
That feels like we're never going to get it. We're never going to get done with this.
Oh, I totally understand that feeling, Sam. But I do, looking at the next few weeks, I think the 90s is going to smack us in the face.
Oh, no. What do you mean? Okay, let me see.
I mean, next week we got the Cosby Show, along with the Disneyland 35th anniversary celebration, which is hosted by Tony Danza.
Oh, wow.
We have The Witches after that.
Yeah.
We have Little Mermaid's Island, which is a show most people don't know exists, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue.
Oh, you're right. This is all going to suck.
That's not exactly what I said, but it's going to feel very 90s regardless of how we feel about it.
We were getting weird in the 90s.
From what I have previewed in putting this list together for next week, I am excited to check out the Disneyland 35th anniversary celebration. And I might watch more than just the 8 minutes that features Gonzo and Piggy, because it opens with the cast of Cheers, and it features Jim Varney as Ernest and a musical performance by the Fresh Prince himself, Will Smith.
Oh, wow. This is our time.
Yeah, this is just like they made a show for us, and we just were too young to appreciate it.
We're so old, man.
Shut up. I know.
We're so old.
This week really had me feeling old because
liking Ernest is like liking Groucho Marx or something now, right? I mean, it probably really it's like having those guys who have like those tin like Three Stooges things hanging in their garage, it's like how Elvis was everywhere when we were kids, and parents just liked Elvis as a thing, and you're like, now Elvis is kind of not really anywhere. My collectible Jim Varney plate.
Oh, if only. Maybe that's what's happening on QVC. I haven't checked it out in a while.
But all of the different characters he plays. It's like that mean aunt, and it's like the
she's definitely riding Autopia in the clip I saw.
Oh, she is the mean aunt there?
I'm pretty sure. Or maybe the old man that he plays.
I love all those other characters where it's like, hey, bro, we all just want to see Ernest. Please stop doing this.
No, I think it's Ernest telling like a family trip to Disneyland kind of story.
Of course. Yeah, okay.
Which we also get from Woody on Cheers. We see a clip of that. And then we get Gonzo and Piggy interacting with C-3PO on Star Tours. Yeah. So we are in for a treat.
It's just the beginning of what we're experiencing the end of in reality right now, right? Like this like hyper consumerism, like it was all fun and games back then. But now, look at us now.
I don't wanna. Well, we're recording this on the day of the World Cup final.
Yeah.
Which starts pretty much as soon as this recording ends, between Argentina and Spain.
So like 7 hours from now.
Yeah. What I'm excited about is there might be some Muppets.
Yeah, you were talking about that on the Discord, because there was that teaser a long time ago that I totally forgot about.
Yeah, it was from May, I think. They announced that there was going to be, for the first time ever, a World Cup final halftime show comprised of Coldplay, Madonna, and BTS. A little something for everybody. And when they announced this, it was a big deal for us because it was a video with Chris Martin of Coldplay hanging out with Elmo, talking about getting some big stars for the show. And of course, Cookie Monster was there. But you know who else was there? Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, Animal, Statler, and Waldorf. And this was the first time that these characters have shared the screen since 1987 in Muppets Family Christmas.
That's bonkers. They're friends again.
Yeah, like some of these characters have been around each other. Kermit has dipped into Sesame Street a couple of times over the years. But when you include Statler and Waldorf in this equation, all of these characters have not been on screen together since 1987. And that's a long time ago because that's when Sam and I were born. And as we've established, we're quite old.
We're very old. That was a long time ago. That was almost 40 years ago.
So yeah, I don't know if anyone has said what the Muppets are doing or if the Muppets are doing anything. But in that video, Chris Martin, I keep wanting to call him Coldplay. That's not fair.
Uh-huh.
He's not Coldplay, but I can't name any other members of Coldplay. So I guess it's also true that he is Coldplay. He says, I guess we just need one big star. And that's when Miss Piggy walks in, which makes me feel like there must be a Muppet in this thing.
Do you think there is always a chance that there is no Muppet at all in it, right?
Yes, they could have been just part of the announcement. But because
why?
Sesame Street
why
posted
would they
this,
be part of the announcement?
There was something said in the video about raising money for children's education. And so I think something the charity, who's putting on the halftime show, clearly I know a lot of information about this, is attached to children's education and is supported this way. So I could see Sesame Street and the Muppets getting involved in that. I also wonder if maybe Kermit, Elmo, Miss Piggy just introduced this thing. And they're like, ladies and gentlemen, Coldplay, yay! And then we get the halftime show.
So 3 hours ago, CBS Sports said that the Muppets will be there.
All right.
The Muppets and Sesame Street characters.
Which is exciting. Again, not a thing that's happened.
Mm-mm.
And also, maybe the weird Coldplay puppets will be there that were built by the Jim Henson Studios.
Oh, I forgot about that. Coldplay's friends with the Muppets already.
Mm-hmm. So we might just have a whole bunch of puppets at the World Cup halftime show.
It's so weird that you haven't seen them cross over since then, but I think most people in the world would say, oh, yeah, they're all Muppets together. But they haven't been Muppets together for 40 years.
Yeah.
It's just a strong brand.
Very strong. And I think most people also, aren't checking in on Sesame Street that frequently. So they're not necessarily aware of the last time Kermit was on or how many
Kermit's
times he's been on
Sesame Street to most people.
Right.
Yeah.
But in reality, he's been on twice in the past 30 years or whatever.
Right.
So, not really a staple of the series anymore. But yeah, I'll at least check that out.
Yeah.
It'll be on,
check that out,
around 1:45 our time today. So I'll make sure to see if there's some Muppets, and I'm sure we'll talk about it.
They got all the big Muppet fans, all 27 of us.
They were really hurting for a world audience. They were like, you know what? Not enough people watch the World Cup. So what if we added some Muppets in here to get some eyeballs on this thing?
British people do love the Muppets. So there's that, I guess.
Yeah.
Could you guess one other Coldplay person, do you think, in a million years?
No.
You don't know
I tried
Guy
real hard.
Berryman, bass guitarist?
See, you could be making that up.
You don't know Johnny Buckland, regular guitarist?
No.
Or even Will Champion, who's holding it down on the drums?
I think I know the name Will Champion only because of a stand-up bit by Nish Kumar, the stand-up comedian, who has a whole bit about the drummer in Coldplay being one of the most famous musicians in the world, but nobody knows his name. And I think that's proven by the fact that I assume you read the real names off of Wikipedia just now, but you could have just read off the names of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers band or something like that, and I wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah, you could sit next to Will Champion on a plane and be like, I'm not going to talk to this guy. I don't want this guy to look at me.
You'd be like, I'm in Coldplay. It's like, sure you are, sir.
Can I change seats, please?
Yeah, this guy says he's in Coldplay. Everyone knows that's not true. Chris Martin is Coldplay.
Do they have famous drum parts or something?
I mean,
I haven't listened to Coldplay in a long time.
The only song I can think of at the top of my head is Yellow, which I can't even hear the drums in my head.
That's exactly
I
what
hear
I was
piano. There has to be a drum.
Does he play the drums?
There's photos of him behind drums. So he's at least playing a drum from time to time.
He's just pretending it.
He's like, no one's caught on for 30 years.
Good thing Chris Martin's is fucking stupid.
Yeah. Hey, remember when those people cheated on each other at our concert? Crazy.
He's just back there having a full conversation. All the other three guys.
He's recording a podcast.
Yeah. Chris Martin's just playing piano up there singing, and the other three guys are just chatting.
He's
They're
recording a
smoking
podcast
cigarettes.
called Behind Coldplay.
all of his recording equipment is just in the big drum in the front, whatever that's called.
Today, Chris Martin made eye contact with me. Let's talk about that for an hour.
If he pays too much attention to me, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah. If he looks back and is like, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm like, oh, fuck. I got no clue what he wants me to do right now.
At this point, don't remember how to play drums.
This is the first time this has happened in like 10, 15 years. Like, he never looks at me and he never counts anything. So I think I'm supposed to start hitting one of these. But can someone remind me which one's the cymbal and which one's the drum?
He starts playing like a U2 song. He's like, I don't remember which one. I don't remember.
I lied on my resume to get into Coldplay. Well, apologies to Will Champion and all of his
Come on
fans.
the show, Will. You probably like the Muppets. You're British.
Is he? I guess he would be.
Yeah.
He's in Coldplay.
Allegedly.
Allegedly British.
Yeah.
Allegedly drummer. Allegedly Coldplay. His mom has a Wikipedia page.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nepo drummer Will Champion, whose mom was a British archaeologist. You know how they all break into the business.
His mom was Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr laid a bunch of eggs.
Sam, I was just going to say Ringo laid an egg. Why do we both assume that Ringo laid eggs?
I don't know anything about Coldplay. You think you would know more about Coldplay, don't you think?
I mean, I know a few of their songs, which I feel like is enough to get me by.
But you know about like the Beatles. You know about like...
Yeah, and that's
Right.
the thing. I am sure people know about Coldplay. I just don't know about Coldplay. The most I know about Coldplay is like 3 songs that I can name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And the Gwyneth Paltrow thing.
If you walked into a house and somebody had a Beatles coffee table book, you'd say, okay.
Yeah.
If you walked into a house and somebody had a Coldplay coffee table
That
book,
tells me a lot about them.
you'd be like, what the fuck? It's not just 2 pages long. Coldplay exists. The guy's married to Gwyneth Paltrow. It's
Not
2
anymore,
pages
I
long
think.
with
They're the ones who had the
they
like
had the
uncoupling or whatever they called it.
Conscious uncoupling. That's
Conscious
right.
uncoupling.
Well, they added a 3rd page about that couple who cheated on each other. Not about the band, but it's just an interesting story.
Yeah, just like, ooh, somebody put out the new edition of the book. We got to add in a page about that rich guy who got caught cheating at the concert.
Otherwise, it's just copy and pasted from their Wikipedia pages.
Well, Sam, it's probably way more than enough about Coldplay, and I have to assume you cut out some of it. So I'm going to say, what do we watch this week?
First, we watched a Rowlf segment from The Jimmy Dean Show, air date April 16th, 1964. Rowlf presents the Animal Actors Academy Award for Best Animal Actor to himself, and then discusses some of the best animal performances of the past year or years, I'm not really sure, from Huckleberry Hound to the snake from the movie Cleopatra. Then Jimmy presents Rowlf with an award for Best Talking Dog on The Jimmy Dean Show, and they sing You Ought to Be in Pictures together. Then we watched another Jimmy Dean segment, this time from January 21st, 1965. In this one, Rowlf tries to get Jimmy to come to a ski lodge with him, eventually revealing that Rowlf's already promised the owner that Jimmy wouldn't just perform there, but also bus tables, do dishes, and shovel snow. He guilts Jimmy into agreeing to go, and they sing Winter Wonderland. Then we watched more of 2 TV specials from 1969 that we've seen bits and pieces of before, The Muppets Make Puppets and Muppet Puppet Plays. In the new segment of Muppets Make Puppets that we haven't seen before, Jim, Frank, and Don Celine show off different ways to construct puppets out of household objects and how positioning facial features can change the character of a puppet. Then in Muppet Puppet Plays, Jim and Frank tell viewers their tricks of the trade for getting started putting on puppet shows, from performing different types of characters and effective plots to special effects and even how to find your audience.
And that's all we watched this week.
A pretty brisk, easy watch. Nothing. I mean, we sometimes we'll watch the same amount in terms of like hours as we do
Right.
in Muppet Babies, but Muppet Babies, I pause it and it's
so
like 5
dense
minutes have elapsed
and layered.
Yeah,
There's so much going on in there to
The
talk
text-
about that it
the
takes us
text
3
is
hours every
complicated.
time.
Every time I watch Muppet Babies, I go back and watch every previous episode of Muppet Babies first. So
You
I
really
can
need
just
the
have
context.
canon fresh in my head. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Well, as Sam alluded to, we have seen some of this before. Parts of the Muppets on Puppets and clips from Muppet Puppet Plays were in our episode 6 playlist all the way back in 2021.
And I feel like we've seen like enough of this has come up different times that I felt kind of crazy watching it because I was like, it was all the fragments were all in my head because I feel like, yeah, they've like popped up in different places before.
Well, yeah, and like not only have we seen parts of this before, but we also have seen them do similar bits on other shows. We watched the Muppets on Puppets in that same episode 6 playlist, and that was like an hour-long special that included some of these same sketches, like putting different faces on a puppet and like talking about the personalities of stuff. And so, yeah, it's not all new, surprising bits, but it's nice to fill in the gaps because previously what we had to watch was the first 14 minutes of the Muppets Make Puppets out of this half-hour show. And then we had 4 different clips from Muppet Puppet Plays that were all like a minute to 2 minutes long. So we had seen about, 6-8 minutes of that one. So the big moments like Java, the nursery rhymes at the end, the Grover section, we had seen those things before. So it makes sense that you probably felt a little nuts of like, I swear I have seen these things. But yeah, these were 2 different 30-minute specials that were produced for public television after Muppets on Puppets. And they were made as like companion pieces. If you watch them back to back, like we have done, you'll see that in Muppets Make Puppets, they make puppets, obviously, that they then use.
A very well-named special.
Yeah.
I would say.
Spot on. But they use those puppets in Muppet Puppet Plays and say, we made this in an earlier episode.
Were these like to be shown in a classroom or something? What are these?
These were, I know, aired for public television. I think the series we're watching, or the 2 versions we watch, are from WITF in Pennsylvania, which is airing it as part of their Adventure in the Arts series, which is what the title card shows.
The very soothing voice at the beginning says so.
Yeah, and the previous 15-minute clip that we had watched before was a clip that was uploaded to the Iowa Public Television YouTube channel. So
it
this
was
kind of just put out there.
Yeah, sitting in some library that PBS affiliates or something that public television could air.
Yeah, and I think we had talked maybe before that the idea was that they could continue to make these and continue to put on series like this regularly. And, they say join us next time. They're talking like they're going to keep doing these things.
Yeah. And but then when it cut, Jim was like, that was pretty much it.
Well, I think we said
no other things to say.
Everything.
There are a bunch of times where they're just kind of like, yeah, we just kind of get back there and fuck around.
Yeah, there are. And there's also times when it's like, okay, here we go. We're ramping up to something. And then they do it. And then Jim's just like, all right, so next we need to move on because that was a dud.
Yeah. Didn't really work out.
That freaking spider puppet. I think he was very disappointed with the way the spider puppet turned out in particular.
I thought it was cool. I liked the spider puppet.
I don't think it looked much like a spider.
No, it looked like some kind of creature, but it was still pretty neat.
Yeah, but I feel like that popped up and he was like, all right, so. But the last time, Sam, that we watched these, we also made puppets.
Oh, my God.
Remember when we were young and not as cynical because Muppet Babies hadn't ruined us and we were just learning all of this stuff for the first time on this podcast?
Yeah, and Jim was around. I feel like we haven't heard Jim's voice in a long time. We heard it last week, I suppose, in the Christmas thing. It's just so rare that he actually is around the last.
Well, we get
months.
so much Jim and Frank energy throughout all of this that is something I think we, when we first watched this stuff back in 2021, it was surprising to us. We were delighted to learn anything we could about the Muppets back then because we didn't, just have everything already crammed into our brain. And I think this week made me a little happy and a little sad.
Interesting to see them be a little bit like, we haven't totally found our groove yet, to be a little bit like Jim and Frank are kind of like siblings squabbling with each other a little bit. It's like you can tell when Jim's like getting annoyed. Just all those good dynamics that we haven't seen in a long time.
That made me happy watching them be these younger versions of themselves who haven't done Sesame Street quite yet. And when we watched this in 2021, we were the same age as Jim is in this. He was 33.
Wow.
In this. Frank Oz is 24 years old in this.
What?
Yeah. That's a 24-year-old man.
He looks like he will.
He's a little boy.
He looks like he does it now.
Yeah. I love the idea because Don Saleen was 41 in this. So you have a 41-year-old Don Saleen with a 24-year-old Frank Oz. And I never really thought about the dynamic between these guys in that way before.
I would hate to hang out with a 24-year-old.
Right? And add a few years to how old we are now and then be like, here's my 24-year-old puppet friend.
Oh, and now he's pinching my nose. All right.
He's playing with my face. He's twiddling my mustache.
Just get through this time. It's okay. That is even more obnoxious when you say that.
Yeah, Don Saleen's like, these fucking kids are messing with my hair and my mustache.
Literally old enough to be this guy's dad. Don't punch him in the face.
It's going to really throw off the vibe of a thing that it doesn't seem like we can edit. So I'm probably not allowed to punch him right now. But I think the thing that made me sad about this was that I don't know if we'll ever feel this way about the Muppets again.
You mean like in the future or in what we're going to watch or just ever?
Do the Muppets have anything left up their sleeve to surprise us?
Do you mean in terms of the content we have left to watch?
Yeah.
Or
I mean, in general.
Into the future. Yeah. I think the answer to both is they're mythologized now to where we can't see the people behind them being human beings anymore.
Well, and even when we do, is it the same? Because it's not new. It's not the first time we're learning, this talcum powder trick, the explosion kind of thing. Like,
wow. And is there anything left new to learn in the entire world?
Really what we're saying is civilization is over.
Yeah, we're old and depressed.
This is peak humanity, I think is what we're saying. And it's all downhill from here. You're welcome.
I think you can teach the same things over and over again because there's always new kids. So I do think like
my daughter doesn't know these things, so she can be delighted and surprised.
Yeah, and if some new puppeteer invented some really cool new puppet and they said, "Hey, you want to make a special about?" Like I could see that happening, but not with the Muppets. You couldn't. The Muppets will not be back there.
Right. Like I guess we had Rocky in Project Hail Mary. Is a delightful, surprising puppet. There was some puppetry involved in the Odyssey. In the making of that. So there's cool puppets happening.
And there's tons of YouTube channels all over the place of people saying, blow this talcum powder through this hose and you're going to have an explosion. It's going to look great.
I guess that's what is maybe, I'm wondering where that lies in today's like media landscape or whatever of, I don't know, being able to go back and watch this pre-fame version of someone, but like they got to be on TV and make a show, but they weren't the most famous yet. And like getting to see like this progression in a way that now is sometimes like going back and watching somebody's YouTube videos, like Timothée Chalamet making, video game controllers or whatever it was he was doing on YouTube when he was a kid.
Yeah, right.
Like, I don't know. It's just, and maybe it is the version of like, watching somebody in a bit part on a TV show and then they become the most famous musician in the world or something. But it just, something about it was kind of I don't know. I feel like we had a lot of these moments in the early days of the podcast where it'd be like, oh my God, we get to learn a new thing. Oh, we get to see this puppet for the first time. Oh, we get to see this. And I sort of had this moment where I'm like, oh, how many more of those moments do we have left where they keep innovating or adding new things after Jim dies?
They will do it, but they won't talk about it the way that Jim liked to talk about it. Don't you think?
Right. Yeah. Like they're not sending them onto the Tonight Show to talk about, here's the behind the scenes of Rag Bump. Like,
Right.
go.
Because if Jim was around when dinosaurs came out,
Mm.
he would have had a special where he peeled
Earl Sinclair's face off.
Sinclair's face off and was like, here's all the different things that make this face go. And maybe they do that. I don't know. But the compulsion to, or like the ability to show what's behind the magic without destroying the magic is not something that I think other people could do it. There's just not that like impulse isn't there. I don't know. Now just Disney owns them and they're like, you are for advertising new rides in Disney World. You are not for being a point of interest in and of yourself.
Well, and I think that is something that we've talked about before where, Adam Savage has done videos going to the Jim Henson studios and showing all the Fraggle Rock puppets, and they're more than willing to show off those and how they work, and that's always interesting.
Yeah. I guess I did have the thought cross my head and then forgot to say it that if the Muppets ever are not owned by Disney again, then I think that's the best chance for them to do this kind of thing. Or like, I don't know, if the Sesame Street Muppet leadership, if like the Sesame Street leadership changes somehow, I don't know. It's all a long shot, I think.
Yeah, I think
that we will feel delight like this.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like a companion behind the scenes documentary to the making of the new Sabrina Carpenter Muppet Show episode.
Right.
Would have been a fun little addition to have on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And Disney's not opposed to doing things like that. Like they reveal the magic behind Star Wars things in the theme parks all the time. But there is something about the Muppets that I feel like some people are in the I don't want to see the puppeteer camp.
Right. Which is completely against the DNA of the Muppets.
Yeah.
Which is basically like, we're doing this, but really any of you could do this. The message of it is, wow, TV has democratized puppetry, and we're going to show you how to do it. In Jim's head, it was probably like, there's going to be so many puppeteers by the time I'm done with the world.
I mean, maybe he was feeling that way because he was having that level of success. And he's like, wow, I watched these puppet shows when I was a kid.
That's the way to do it.
Look at me. I'm making puppets famous. Everyone could do this. Like, everyone could be a famous puppeteer. Come on, everyone, rise up.
It's like he starts like a pyramid scheme.
He's like, we got Jerry Lewis
puppets
on our side.
Yeah.
Come on, it's Kermit and Lamb Chop leading the way.
Yeah. If you start a puppet show and then you get 5 of your friends to start a puppet show in a month, everybody in the whole world.
That's what we watched today. We watched the MLM
multi-level marketing like intro.
We were just
video.
pulled into a convention hall at a hotel and we're like, we have a great deal for you.
And at the end, they sell you a big tub of styrofoam balls and push pins.
This only costs $10,000. But if you sell these styrofoam balls and push pins to your friends, you can make $20,000 in 1 month.
And not even to mention that you'll have a show on TV.
Everyone gets one. It's so easy. Cynicism aside about the state of the media landscape and also just not being delighted and surprised by puppets anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think kids media, I'm thinking of like podcasts where it's like I listen to, there's people who are on TV now who I heard on podcasts 10 years ago and I could like trace their rise. So there are certain things that are more like TV just used to be the lo-fi, like do it yourself thing.
Right.
And then that switches to other stuff. And YouTube is like, now you can track like the Backrooms guy is like, he made all that stuff. You can track it. It's just that like TV, and I think even more specifically children's entertainment is like clamped down and like gotten down to a science of like, well, we're going to make a CGI Spider-Man cartoon. No one's going to want to like learn anything about how we did that. Even Muppet Babies is sort of like that, where it's like, this is just some, like maybe children's TV is just like became cynical in the 80s and stayed that way. Is maybe more what it is than anything. I don't know,
but maybe this podcast will be that thing in the future when we're on TV, Sam, and everyone's like, oh, remember when they had a Muppet podcast? And now they host the Tonight Show together as co-hosts?
Nope. The key to that, Matt, is that you can't start when you're 40. By the time you're 40, you will have had reinvented your careers 3 or 4 different times. Yeah, not just start it.
I mean, somebody had to get their start when they were 40, right?
I think if we went back in time to the 70s, maybe they'd be like, wow, these two 40-year-olds look great. Everybody else looks like a skeleton when they're 40. But these two guys aren't smoking and they're drinking water. So then I think we'd have a chance. But
You know who created their first comic book at age 39?
Wait, who?
Stan Lee.
Really?
Yeah.
He did?
That's what the internet says.
That's like, now that I'm thinking about it, that's like big midlife crisis energy, like Marvel Comics.
I'm in a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Whoa, we are getting divorced.
Yeah. Stan, I swear to God, if you tell me anything else about
Look
Namor
at
the
him.
Submariner, fine, me and my friend Jack are just going to go hang out, talk about our little heroes.
But yeah, we got Charles Darwin, didn't do much until his 50s. So come on. We got time.
Maybe we have time. Maybe
Betty White
40.
started acting in Mary Tyler Moore Show when she was 51.
Is that really? Is that true?
Yeah. I'm looking at
Okay, we're
Time
fine.
magazine telling me when people got famous.
We have
Sam.
at least until we're 51 then. I think.
Rodney
that's
Dangerfield, 46 when he got famous.
Right. Matt, you're making me feel so much better. Thank you.
Julia Child put out her first cookbook when she was 50.
Oh, okay.
We've got so much time.
We have a lot of time.
Henry
especially even
Ford
the
was
book
45 when he made a car. We could make a car, Sam.
We could still make the car.
We could make the car.
The car 2. Car 2.
No one's ever thought to make car 2.
Car 2 might have been plane. Car 3.
I think plane was car 1 or car 0.5.
But actually, you know what? Boat was car 1. Car
boat,
2
car
was
1.
car.
I think carriage may be car 1.
I think boat came first because no wheel. Car 1, boat.
I think car
2,
might need wheel.
Car. Only thing that car needs to do is get you to a place faster than you got before. So, car
Rocket,
1,
car 7.
Car 1, horse. Car 2, boat. Car 3, wagon. Car 4, car. Car 5, plane. Car 6,
Blimp.
Blimp is like a marsupial of this lineage. It's a different thing.
I want someone to read back the transcript of this conversation and try to understand what the hell's going on.
So car 6, I think maybe is rocket ship, and car 7 is what we have to invent next.
Okay, so car 7 coming to you, and this podcast will be the thing people go back and listen to and go, wow.
Those two guys didn't
they were
invent car
so
7.
young.
They didn't invent car 7 until they were 38. Is that how
we're
old
38 now, so
Yeah.
give us a couple years to invent car 7.
We'll invent car 7 by the time we're 40. We're just going to start thinking about it right now.
Samuel L. Jackson was 43 when he had his breakout role.
We're fine.
I don't know how many of these lists exist for people over 45, so I feel like we do have to
We
kind
gotta
of
hurry
get
up a little
going.
bit.
And I'm
We
sure there's a
kinda
bunch of
gotta
these
start.
lists where it's like, these people started when they were 35. Can you believe it? And we have aged over those people now. But
yeah.
if we just find the oldest person on this list, we can always still have time to do something. Maybe we'll just be like Van Gogh and not be famous till we die. And this podcast becomes the best podcast in the world.
That's always that's not the ideal option for
No.
fame, but that is always a possibility. Really, anybody that's ever existed could still get famous.
Right. Like maybe in the future, the internet and streaming media starts to slowly disappear. But for some reason, it starts from the bottom up as far as amount of content.
Yeah.
And so the longer podcasts are and the more hours of content there are, the odds that we survive the Great Reckoning,
Yes.
maybe it's better for us.
I think that's true. You could always be the last piece of media in a post-apocalyptic landscape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You go in and you find one hieroglyph on the side of a tomb and they're like, this is what everything was like. We're going to be the podcast people find in the future. And they're like, I found this 8-hour Muppet Babies podcast. This must have been important. No one would spend this long of their life on anything not important.
That is such a good point I've never thought of before. And all the other Egyptian people are just like, ancient Egyptians were like, oh yeah, we were just like normal guys. We were just like drinking beers and stuff.
Well, that's what I think about. Think of imagination in general and think of cavemen drawing on walls. It's like, what if a guy just drew a fucked up dog and he's like, what if he had 2 heads? And then they're just like, ancient people believed that dogs had two heads. And he's like, oh, no, I did not think that at all. I just thought it would look fucked up if I drew a dog with two heads.
Stan Lee of his time.
I just ate so many berries super high and I drew a dog with two heads.
That's true. Yeah. Everybody back then believed Spider-Man was real. They worshipped Spider-Man.
They were afraid of Spider-Man's wrath.
We don't, yes. Especially when he wore the black suit, the evil black suit. Then he was really scary.
Oh, we are so far off the path that I feel like I must pull us back.
We haven't. The thing is, we really do have to fill up a little bit of time. So
it would be very easy to say Jimmy Dean said hi to Rowlf. Frank and Jim made some puppets, and then that was it.
That's really genuinely it. But
we're being responsible by talking about Stan Lee and Ancient Cavemen Spider-Man for 45 minutes.
We
so
learned
you're
about
welcome.
how old a lot of different people were, which is always really
This is an educational podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
I gotta pull us back on track here.
We
gotta talk about Jimmy Dean and Rowlf.
Yes,
the first episode we watched was from April 16th, 1964. It is the second to last episode of season 1 of the Jimmy Dean Show, which this means we are left with only one episode from season 1 that we have not seen.
Oh, and it had a Rowlf in it. They all had Rowlfs in it.
They all had Rowlfs since the second episode of Jimmy Dean. And that's episode 13. So hopefully we can track that down someday. And we will have completed the entire first season of Jimmy Dean and Rowlf.
Does it? It's out there somewhere, assumedly. It's just
there's screenshots on Muppet Wiki, and I think these things appear from time to time on the internet. There is a super expensive DVD set out there of Jimmy Dean episodes that you can buy for like $120 or some reason like that. But I also don't know exactly what is and isn't on it, and so it's hard to pinpoint and make it worth spending the money on.
It's interesting to me to be a person who uploads episodes of the Jimmy Dean Show, and you're not thinking, the Kermitment boys need this one. Why are you doing it otherwise?
Country music history.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these are on country music history YouTube channels because you have to remember there's 40 minutes of episode outside of Rowlf that is featuring the most famous country musicians of the 60s all in one place.
Most people are probably skipping over the Rowlf parts, in fact.
Whoa, how dare they? But no, you've got so many of these episodes make me realize how many times Jim Henson actually was just hanging out near Johnny Cash. Like not just when he was on The Muppet Show or Sesame Street, but like back in the Jimmy Dean days.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash, these guys were just hanging out next to Jim Henson and Rowlf.
Man, how did Jimmy not end up on The Muppet Show? That's so crazy to me.
He's busy making sausage.
Yeah, he could have talked about him on The Muppet Show because Miss Piggy would have been like,
maybe that's why he wasn't. Miss Piggy demanded he was not allowed on stage.
He's an enemy to all pigs worldwide. Yes. That's probably it.
But this week, Jimmy is surprised to see Rowlf all dressed up because Rowlf looks amazing. He has a bow tie and a tall black top hat on, and he's here to welcome us to the Animal Actors Academy Awards. It's worth noting the real Oscars aired on April 13th, 3 days before this, and were hosted by Jack Lemmon, which...
That's why he said that thing.
Yes. It is one of the few things he says that's a topical reference during this time that I was actually able to figure out what he was talking about. There's a couple other things he says in one of these that I'm like, that's a whole lot of 60s words that I'll never be able to Google and figure out. I did want to, sometimes we'll talk about what's going on in 1989. We just talked about all the songs that were coming out in 1989 when we were talking about the end of the 80s. So I wanted to look up a Billboard chart for 1964 and just sort of place ourselves back in time of what people were listening to on the radio while they were watching Jimmy Dean and Rowlf hang out. You got I Want to Hold Your Hand and She Loves You by the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
Heard of them?
Yeah.
You got Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison. I Get Around by the Beach Boys. Everybody Loves Somebody by Dean Martin.
Damn.
You got Java by Al Hirt. Came out in 1964.
Changed a certain young man named Jim Henson's life forever.
Yeah, Frank Oz heard it and was like, Jim, you gotta hear this.
I gotta make some tubes dance to this.
Give me the tubes. But yeah, A Hard Day's Night, Do Wah Diddy, Please Please Me. Big year for the Beatles, gotta say.
It's so crazy how much of that music it's like on the radio.
Yeah, oftentimes I will, because if I'm looking for music that is inoffensive and babies can
For
hear,
baby.
I'll just put on
Your
like
baby has such pedestrian taste. So yeah.
yeah, I mean, Sam, it's either Kids Bop versions of songs or something classic like Beach Boys and the Beatles. So more often than not, it is Beach Boys and Beatles. But yeah, that playlist can go for hours and hours on like a mix, and every song is a song
you
I've
know.
known for my entire life.
Right.
That's the era we're living in, and it seems like, based on the lack of country songs I'm finding in this, Jimmy Dean was fighting an uphill battle with his TV show.
Oh, I think we've talked about that before, maybe even, and because he thanks Sam Goody. Remember that thanks
for
the
selling
man.
country records.
And I do think country was trying to claw its way to. I mean, they did a hell of a job. It's one of the primary things, but that is interesting to think about.
Well, Rowlf is here to present the best acting performance by an animal, and a man in a gorilla suit brings out the envelope to him.
We've had guys in gorilla suits as a gag for a long time.
I wonder who that was. Do you think it was like a Jimmy Dean crew member, or was it like Jerry Jewell?
I think it was a Jimmy Dean crew member, probably. It was
just
some
like the youngest guy on set. They were like, "Hey, Bobby,
yeah,
guess what we got for you? You're gonna be on stage. You're gonna be in the Jimmy Dean show. Call your parents. They're gonna be excited to see you." And then poor Bobby.
I bet you could build an interesting list of people who got their start appearing in a gorilla outfit for a moment on a television show.
That's our next podcast. Watching just gorilla suit movies and TV shows. Well, the nominees for the category are Lassie, Mr. Ed, and Smokey the Bear. But somehow the winner is Rowlf.
Yeah, because the voting pool is simply restricted to Rowlf.
Yeah. I guess when you create the award show for yourself, why not take home the grand prize?
I suppose that's true, yeah. It's like a real Mr. Burns kind of thing, right? Doesn't Mr. Burns do that? He starts a whole film festival so he can win it or something.
This sounds right. Well, Jimmy comes over to congratulate Rowlf on his winning, and Rowlf reveals that he never expected to win, but that he was the only voter. And talks about the importance of animals acting in films, most notably the snake in the movie Cleopatra that came out that year, saying it is the most important animal actor of the year because if the snake hadn't bit Elizabeth Taylor, that 4-hour movie would have gone on forever.
That was funny. And it's interesting to have that in the era of the Odyssey coming out.
Yep.
And how much we still fight about movies used to not be 3 hours long. Yes,
no, they used to be 5 hours long.
They used to have an intermission. They were so damn long.
Yeah. They used to have overtures and intermissions.
We just need to bring those back.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded an intermission during the Odyssey.
Odyssey seems like one that could have a great intermission. Have you ever seen Cleopatra?
I have not. So I don't know if it's a brisk 4 hours or if I actually would be thinking the snake.
Yeah, it's one of those that you would see in Animaniacs would reference it a lot. But
yeah, I've seen screenshots or in montages of great Hollywood films. You see Elizabeth Taylor as Cleopatra, obviously. But no, I have never seen the movie itself. It's got to be at least watchable.
I would
based
imagine
on
so, yeah.
The, what it has sort of, carried on in the lexicon of her as Cleopatra. I feel like it's just a touch point forever. I mean, there's a different movie, a documentary called Cleopatra, the film that changed Hollywood. It was apparently the most expensive film of all time at the time. So I think that's maybe also part of why it is so famous. Because I'm seeing things calling it the $44 million disaster that changed Hollywood.
Yes. I feel like a lot of the jokes about it are that was a kind of a boondoggle.
I mean, $44 million in 1963 is about $480 million today,
Jesus, yeah.
which would make it
That's
the most expensive movie of all time.
Yeah, that's no good.
Wowza. That's like almost twice as much as the Odyssey cost. But Rowlf says that other actors like Huckleberry Hound, Woody Woodpecker, and John Wayne need more recognition.
Why does he mention John Wayne here? They don't even ever make a joke about him being like an animal, right?
Which is what I thought it was going to be. But when Jimmy asked for an explanation, it's basically just Rowlf saying that John Wayne hasn't won awards but deserves them. So it just makes it seem like Ralph's favorite actor is John Wayne.
Right. Maybe it's part of the country music thing.
I mean, it tracks. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that John Wayne is his favorite non-animal actor. But the joke here is just sort of that Rowlf wants John Wayne to win an Oscar.
Right. Not that he's like a big gorilla or something like that.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy says he's going to present Rowlf with a special award for being the best talking dog on the Jimmy Dean show. And Rowlf says, what a surprise. What an honor. What a ridiculous award. Who's my competition, for crying out loud? But he presents him with the Rover, which is a trophy that looks like a long dachshund on top of a trophy stand.
It's one of those 60s stuffed animals that were like weirdly hard for some reason, I think. You know what I'm talking about?
I assume also spray painted.
Yeah, it looks really
with
weird.
Some really toxic, Tin Man's type of paint.
Yeah, the stuff that got the Tin Man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, once he gets the trophy, it's time for Rolf's acceptance speech. And he's thanking everyone from his scenic designer to his butcher, his baker, his candlestick maker, and leaving Jimmy off the list as Jimmy gives him a little nudge of like, hey, you forgetting anybody there, buddy?
These two are so cute.
Oh, yeah. No, this one particularly got me because of where it goes here in a second. Because eventually he thanks Jimmy for making him what he is today.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, I'm like literally just got goosebumps thinking about it, which is the silliest thing. But Jimmy's like, pal, I think you're on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
And they sing You Ought to Be in Pictures together.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about like how right he was and how Jimmy Dean was like instrumental in Jim Henson becoming a success. And Jimmy probably really was like, this kid's got it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's wild just to think about, like, Rowlf obviously doesn't get to be the star of the Muppets in the future.
Yeah, but he's still around.
Yeah, and he goes on to be in pictures. And there's no way they knew at the time that, however many years later, like 15 years later, they're going to make a Muppet movie.
And that nobody now knows that Rowlf was like the first famous Muppet on the Jimmy Dean show. And it's all just, yeah.
I think it is. That's why, you mentioned earlier about not having Jimmy Dean on the Muppet Show. I think it's just such a bummer that Jimmy Dean never popped up again with the Muppets. Like, he wasn't even a cameo in anything. Like, to throw in, what's his face? The ventriloquist Bergman guy.
Edgar Bergen a million times, yeah.
Yeah, like, showing him the respect, I understand. So I'm like, it would have been nice if they could have thrown Jimmy Dean a bone from time to time.
Yeah, I'm curious if they wanted to, and if I don't know. I can't imagine Jim never thought, let's get Jimmy on here. Maybe Jimmy didn't want to fly to England.
I was trying to see what Jimmy Dean was up to during, like, the Muppet movie era. So I typed in Jimmy Dean 1979 to see what he was doing. It says the year 1979 was a transitional period for Dean, right in the middle of his peak business years. But the end of the little AI summary says, would you like to know more about his 1979 performance alongside the Oak Ridge Boys and Chet Atkins? Or are you interested in the history of his sausage empire?
It's a real choose your own adventure for Jimmy.
Yeah.
He was probably thinking the same thing back then. Sausage or the Oak Ridge Boys? Which one do I do?
Like, sausage might make me more money.
And that's also crazy that people eat Jimmy Dean sausage all the time and they don't have any idea of who
I have Jimmy
is.
Dean breakfast meals in my freezer right now.
That's so weird. I mean, he did a good job cementing his legacy.
But no one buys them because it's the name. Like, no one's buying them to be like, I love that man.
That
and
country
his big
musician,
ears.
He's one of my favorite guys. You know his songs, Big Mean Joe, Big Mean Joe 2, whatever.
Big Mean Joe. Big Joe.
What's it really called?
Well, now I can't think of anything but Big Mean Joe. Big Bad John.
Big Bad John. That's right.
Well, after they sing that delightful song together, we do see an acting moment from Rowlf where he does a parody of How the West Was Won, where he plays a gambler.
Also nominated that year for Academy Awards.
That makes more sense, too, because, it was...
It's a mad world was one of them also. That's the biggest one, it looks like. That's survived to now.
All these movies I have not seen.
I've never seen it either. I almost watched It's a Mad World when I had COVID, but I don't think there's any other time I'm going to have like 4.5 hours to myself to watch that movie.
That was only 2 hours and 40 minutes.
That's it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one I feel like has Muppet energy to it that we might appreciate. Maybe that'll be our birthday movie this year.
That's a good idea, because I think there's also like a lot of Simpsons DNA, and it's a mad world.
You
we probably do need to watch it.
Yeah, so we at least know how many more mads to say. Well, then the next episode of the Jimmy Dean Show we watched was from January 21st, 1965. And this was episode 18 of season 2. And this feels more like a little bit more of a classic Rowlf Jimmy Dean sketch where Rowlf has some props, sets up a premise, and Jimmy's kind of mad at him.
This one also had kind of a sweaty premise, I thought. I could feel a couple times when they were going where they were like, why are we talking about this?
You could have picked one of the things to sort of run with here, because it starts off with Rowlf got a bunch of ski equipment and you're like, okay, so it's about a winter trip or winter sports or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, actually, I already went skiing and I hurt myself. And it's
Okay,
like,
so
okay,
it's about Rowlf being damaged.
Yes, but no, in fact, it's about as a chalet where Rowlf is tricking Jimmy to try and perform for free.
Yeah, which is and they talk about like how cheap certain things are, which makes me, that when you mentioned it had a lot of 60s stuff in it, it makes me think that there's something about ski lodges that is not connecting with us now. Like
that was a cooler thing back then.
Or it was cheapo, like it was notoriously a cheapo place or something like that. Just like how cheap everything is seems like something, but I'm not really, like the rooms are $1 a night or whatever.
I see. I mean, maybe like it was, yeah, again, I don't know much about the ski, history in the US, but yeah, I think this just feels like Rowlf trying to get one over on Jimmy, but I'm not really sure what Rowlf gets out of it. Like, I don't know if he even really clearly states what he's getting out of this deal.
Even the name, like Ingmar Ski Lodge, is like, that's gotta be, I don't know. That's gotta be,
it was Ingmar Houlihan's Swiss Chalet was the name of the ski lodge. And this all like works. It's funny, but I don't necessarily understand if there's references there that are going over our heads.
It reminds me of the smoking a pancake joke from Austin Powers 3. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
When I saw that movie when I was a kid, I was like, that's got to mean something that I'll understand someday. And then it just doesn't mean anything.
I think it's just saying words in a funny voice.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, look, he said words in a funny voice. And then he offers up options that are similar to smoking a pancake, but different.
So is this just saying a bunch of goofy stuff, or is this something that would make sense for a way to travel back in time? There were a lot of ski lodges in the 60s, I think, because even like the Country Bear Jamboree was intended to be a show at a ski lodge that Walt Disney was like building the most epic ski lodge of all time. So it must have been a 60s thing.
Well, and we watched that Perry Como Winter Show special.
Oh, yeah, they go to a ski lodge.
We assumed everyone was swingers, and they were about to have a big orgy in the ski lodge.
That was in the back of my head. Like, does everybody go there to fuck? Is that what's going on in ski lodges?
I don't know.
I'm not really sure.
Somebody who was alive back then, you got to tell us.
I assume in the 60s, people were going, everywhere people went was a place they were going to have sex without their spouse knowing about it.
There was one joke that I really loved in this, where Rowlf is talking about a ski instructor who set the record for like a long jump.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
And he's talking about how he like went down the thing and he jumped off the thing and he went 700 and some feet. And Jimmy Dean's like, wow, that must be a record. I'd like to shake his hand. And Rowlf says, well, they're not going to dig him up just for that.
That was so funny. Yeah, I cracked up at that.
There's also, I think this is the one where there's a bunch of like fun hand motions where like Rowlf's like, come over here. And like they're having a lot of fun with each other interacting physically during this one.
Or I like how partway through the story, he was like, are you listening to me? There's just, something about it.
This one is one of those ones that like tickles Jimmy Dean and he like sort of gets the giggles throughout it and can't really stop giggling.
Because you're sitting there watching a freaking cartoon dog. Yeah, it's probably so fun.
But yeah, this one wraps up with Rowlf and Jimmy singing Winter Wonderland as snow is falling on Rowlf. And at the end, Jimmy calls for all the snow to be dumped on Rowlf.
Oh, there's another part that I thought was just kind of like a beautiful, like a weirdly beautiful turn of phrase when he talks about Ingmar. Rowlf's like, if you don't come perform, Ingmar's children he's going to lose his business and they'll be thrown out in the snow and their faces will be looking all patriotic. And Jimmy's like, what are you talking about? He's like, they're going to have red eyes, white faces, and blue lips. And it was just like such an evocative image.
Very odd. Like... That one caught me too, where I was just like, okay, that feels like a bit of a stretch, but it works.
What a strange thing to say.
Yeah, that one was okay, was fun. Obviously worth watching because every Jimmy Dean and Rowlf segment is worth watching.
there's some racist ones.
Well, yes, those are more for historical documentation of
Sure,
like, well,
yeah.
we saw those, but
Yeah.
boy, was it racist.
Yeah. Do you think in the 60s Winter Wonderland wasn't yet a Christmas song?
Oh, is it one of those where like
it's not
Sleigh
really
Ride
a
wasn't
Christmas
written for a
song.
Christmas song?
Well, certainly, yeah. I mean, it was written in 1934. It's commonly regarded, according to Wikipedia, as a Christmas song, but
I
it's
feel like
not.
by 30 years on, I bet it got into the canon.
Oh, a later version of Winter Wonderland included new children's lyrics that transformed it from a romantic winter interlude to a seasonal song about playing in the snow. I need to see this X-rated original Winter Wonderland.
Or this Kids Bop version of Winter Wonderland.
I think that's the one we hear now, is my guess.
Oh, you think so? You think there's like a secret dirty verse?
I mean, I guess later on by the fire, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire is sort of like, then we'll have sex after that. But
Elsewhere in 1965, by the way, I pulled up the Billboard charts for this year. Number one song, Wooly Bully.
oh, in
By-
this year of the Jimmy Dean show?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
But 1965, good year for music, because other songs, I Can't Help Myself by the Four Tops. I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Rolling Stones.
Wow.
Downtown by Julia Clark. Help by the Beatles. My Girl by the Temptations. Help Me
And
Rhonda by the Beach Boys.
And the Beach Boys being around too. There's just so much different kinds of music. Like,
Stop in the Name of Love. Great year for specifically music. Not for the world in general
for
necessarily.
other stuff, not so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, getting on to these two specials we watched that are companion pieces. The first one we watched was from 1969. They're both from 1969. But the first one is The Muppets Make Puppets. This is the special where Jim introduces Don Saleen, who makes a bunch of the puppets throughout it very quickly.
Kind of just sitting over there being an old man.
Yeah, makes puppets out of a tennis ball, wooden spoon, styrofoam cups, potato, socks, an envelope. The first time we discussed this is the one that we watched the first 14 minutes of. So if you want to hear what we thought about that at the time, which was mostly dragging Jim for being a boring host, if I remember correctly, you can go listen to episode 6 of this podcast. So we're going to talk about the second chunk, the second half, which is the other 14 minutes of the special.
I'll make a special edition where I stitch the two together.
Will
How
you?
about that? No, but that
Okay.
would probably be really bad. The first half would probably suck.
I think we're delightful. I've
You
gone
think
back and
so?
listened
Yeah,
to some of those
okay.
early episodes.
We had so much energy back then.
Oh, yeah. Much less tired. Well, this picks up in the half that we haven't seen with Frank puppeteering Scoop, a blue guy that they use in some of the commercials, while Jim builds a new king puppet out of styrofoam balls. And Scoop keeps commenting on how big of a nose this king has.
I think the Scoop segment of this worked better than when Frank came out, because Frank has such a menacing energy that it just feels like.
This menacing, mustachioed 24-year-old.
And I think actually maybe it's even worse when Jim kind of like no sells him. I feel like everything Frank starts to do, Jim's like, nah. That's when he is most like, I think, like, let's move on to the next thing.
That said, this moment with Scoop features, I think, the most genuine, delightful giggle I've ever heard from Jim Henson. So he's describing the different features where they're putting the big nose on the king. Jim says he's not going to put eyes on the puppet, just eyebrows, and says that he's like, not all puppets need all of their features. And he's like a lot of our puppets don't even have ears. Did you know that? And Scoop goes, what? And Jim lets out this just delightful giggle. Like that joke caught him so off guard, and he's so pleased by it that he like slows down the show for a minute to just react to what Scoop just said.
Yeah, he does. It's like a belly laugh. He's like, he really like cracks up.
Which is a standout moment because there are so many jokes cracked throughout this that are just completely flat.
Where both of them are just like, Jim and Frank both to each other are like, that joke was bad.
Yeah.
Which I guess is good in this kind of creative relationship, but you can't maybe give each other an inch when you're doing this for the kids, you know?
Yeah, I mean, during the swapping the face emotion puppet thing at the end of this special, Jim cracks a joke and is like, anyone get that? And Frank goes, no, let's move on. Which, to be fair, yeah, it just
really
seemed
get
like a
it
string of
either.
words.
I don't know what that was. Yeah.
No.
He's still in kind of his like, there's a little bit of a poet left in his heart.
There's so many random sentences in here that I know aren't like actually great poetic phrases, but just like the way they're said offhand, I just love hearing Jim go, and Don has built a princess over there. And we just turn the camera and there's just like a whole princess puppet that Don Celine has been secretly making in silence.
Sitting there with no expression on his face, just like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, you're the princess. And then right after that, he's like, oh, thanks for the princess, Don. And then he goes, Don, you're going to make a spider for us. And Don's like, all right, on it. And goes off to work, pulls a black sock over his arm and starts making a spider.
You hippie son of a bitch. I'll make you the best spider you ever seen.
Me telling you how old Don Celine was, I think, has really changed your perception of Don Celine.
Just the way he's sitting over there so quietly, I do that makes sense to me for a 40-year-old guy.
Oh, God. Maybe they had to do multiple takes of this, too. Like, maybe the whole thing, twice.
Yeah.
Don gets to work on the spider while Jim continues building out the king's costume. Scoop's job here is mostly just to comment on Jim's choices and keep the bits going a little bit. Like he's asking the king, like, oh, yeah, where's your kingdom? And the king's like, well, I sort of blew it.
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
That was a good little moment. I think I like the Scoop part because it is nice to have somebody there who's like asking questions.
He's like a nice little sidekick.
Yeah.
And he's not as confrontational as some of the other puppets that Frank brings out, like the Grover one and other.
Oh, yeah. We've seen that Grover part before, I think.
Yeah, right? We had seen the Grover part where Grover is insisting he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And Jim's like, no, you're a good guy. He's like, nah, I'm a bad guy.
I'm going to go do some bad stuff.
do bad guy stuff. But the spider is finished. It pops up on the stage looking, again, not much like a spider, but
I
looks like
think
a creature.
Better than you could do.
He makes so many good puppets all the time that I think I'm just expecting everyone to be brilliant. And I think the spider maybe was like a B+. But it is a couple of eyes on a black glove. And this is when Jim's like, all right, moving on. So, Scoop, how about you get out of here? And Scoop leaves to make room for Frank Oz, who comes into the room so the two of them can work the faceless puppet. They show the complications of getting into the two-person puppet, which takes, I think, longer than they wanted it to.
Yeah, you gotta maybe edit some of this stuff out.
I don't think that was an option, Sam. This seems like they only got one chance to make this show, and then they were immediately kicked out of the studio. But we've seen this bit a couple of times before, I think maybe on the Mike Douglas show and in Muppets on Puppets, where they change around the puppet's emotions to show how just putting different eyes and a hat and everything on a different puppet can change the way you look at that puppet.
Yeah, they've done that. We've seen this a couple times before.
And it's effective. This is the most they definitely like messed with another person because they're just pawing at Don Celine's head.
That's what when Frank's out there, it makes me a little nervous that he's gonna like start slapping somebody or something like that.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna
slap
slap the puppet back? You can't slap a puppet.
He's just gonna get a little too crazy. Yeah. He seems like a guy who like maybe almost got beat up in bars a lot. You know,
that feels right. I don't know why.
He's probably said you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses before in his life.
That's why he bought the glasses.
They're fake glasses.
They're fake glasses.
Yeah. This also reminded me of the Southern Gentleman character that they were trying to like. That was kind of a thing for a while in the 60s, right? He was like in commercials and stuff.
He was like well, I think, and he was like the default whenever they would start this bit. It was always the like colonel that they would bring in.
The colonel.
Don Celine is charming, not the best improv partner. He has a couple of lines that he throws back at them. But Frank Oz is really the improv partner who's trying to ruin it while also being funny. It's funnier and more off-putting in some ways when Frank is doing it as Frank and not as like Scoop or Rufus or something.
Yes.
Like when the man who's just helping you puppeteer this puppet is like, you're going to do what?
Yeah, that's when it's scary. When it's like, Jim's going to yell at you. He's your boss.
His right hand is now criticizing him, essentially.
Yeah. Maybe that is kind of what it's like. It's like body horror in some weird way.
And that's kind of where that one wraps up. They're like, all right, well, we made the puppets now, so I guess come back next week to see us play with the puppets.
Just 3 men with shaggy hair and mustaches talking to your kids.
Please sit your kids down in front of the TV. We will babysit them for the next half hour. You're welcome.
Yeah, you want to see 3 guys who almost hate each other teach you how to make puppets? And we all have long hair and mustaches.
You're inspiring kids to grow mustaches all around the country.
Yeah, that's his real legacy. He didn't make a bunch of puppeteers, but mustaches came back in a big way.
Tickle Me Elmo and mustaches are the legacy of Jim Henson. Well, the other half of this, special that they made, these 2 episodes that are really a 2-parter, is the Muppet Puppet Plays. What we had seen previously was the Harry the Hipster and the Little Girl segment, the Proto Grover segment, as well as Java and the nursery rhymes, which, again, are the big standout moments of this, but we did not see the connective tissue, why some of these things were happening, or a lot of Jim and Frank talking to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because this one, unlike the last one, is hosted by Jim and Frank at the same time, whereas the previous one was just mostly Jim, Don Celine standing there silently, and then Frank was mostly puppeteering throughout it.
There's just such a huge chunk at the end of this where they're both just like, no puppets are happening, and Jim is just talking about the industry, basically.
I don't know. It feels like they had like a list of things to get through,
Mm-hmm.
and they take too long doing some things. And so then they get to certain segments and they realize we have 10 minutes and we have to get through 8 of these.
Yeah.
Let's just like race through them.
We talked about that pear for way too long.
Yeah. Jim would not quit playing with this pear. He made Frank real mad.
Yeah.
And that took up 8 minutes. This Muppet Puppet Plays opens with a puppet named Jack, who introduces himself, saying, "Hello out there. My name is Jack and I'm a puppet." Jim then shows up mysteriously behind Jack. He is here to tell us that today's special is about how to manipulate hand puppets, which is sort of true.
Not really entirely true.
No. Again, I don't know if they had a premise. They started with it and they're like, I guess this is interesting. Maybe we should talk about special effects, which has nothing to do with how to manipulate hand puppets.
What would you say this is about?
This is about how to put on a puppet show.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Because that's multiple times Jim is like, well, if you're wanting to put on a puppet show or when you're thinking about putting on a puppet show, here's how to do that. And I think it's a helpful tool for that, or if kids are watching this. It is funny that like they don't really show how to do much in this special except for how to blow talcum powder into the sky.
Yeah,
like,
you can make
they
stuff
describe a lot of things of like, you could build a puppet stage out of cardboard.
Yeah.
We don't have any cardboard here, so I can't show you how to do that, but you could do that.
I really also like the tone of explaining, which I guess is kind of what the Muppets are all about, of like explaining something hypothetically for children to do in such like dry terms of like, if you're just getting started. And what he means by that is like, if you're like in your bedroom as a child and you have a sock on your hand. Yeah. If you're just getting started being a conscious human being, here's what you could do.
If you just thought about the word puppet for the first time today, you're just getting started. But yes, we do have Jim and Frank hanging out here with a couple of styrofoam head puppets. Or I guess there's one styrofoam head and then one wooden spoon puppet.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back and forth for quite a long time about a pear on the table.
Pear. That stupid pear. And Jim and one of them's like, we're going to use a pear because we had a pear.
Yeah.
Craft services had a pear on the table.
And it ends with Jim's character throwing the pear at Frank's puppet, distractingly as Frank is trying to talk more and more about puppetry.
Yeah, Frank is certainly feels like he is trying to host this and keep it together a little bit, and Jim is.
Either Bert and Ernie personalities are coming out in this one, which I usually feel like is flipped.
Yeah.
But this is solidly Jim being his Ernie self to Frank's Bert in this moment.
And Frank is maybe doing a little bit of the, not to read too much into it, like he's directing in his head. He is thinking, like, this is how this is going to be good.
Well, and I wonder if that's Frank wasn't on screen that much. He wasn't doing a lot of this stuff. And so if this is not necessarily his big moment, but this is his thing, he's being put on screen to lead and host this thing. And he's like, I got to do this well if I'm going to do it. And so he's trying to host the show. Meanwhile, his friend is throwing a pear at him and he's like
giving some slightly dubious advice, I guess, too, sometimes, I feel like.
Well, and just, I feel like Jim's version of poking fun at Frank it feels less confrontational because it's not as aggressive as some of Frank's puppets are, but something about it is like a little meaner at times where I'm like, oh, one, you're his boss. And two, you're kind of really trying to throw him off and not like make this funnier, but rather try to see if you can distract him from things.
Yes, I agree. It does feel meaner, but I can't quite figure out how. It feels less like he's gonna like tweak his nose and more like he's gonna say something to him that Frank will remember for the rest of his life.
Right, or that he's going to embarrass Frank in front of the TV audience because Frank will say something and Jim just goes, well, that's not true. And we all know that's not
Yeah.
true, Frank.
Yeah, he does do that.
Because the next thing is Jim is explaining how the ideal puppetry scenario is standing with your arms stretched up, but because they don't have that situation here, they have to crouch down behind the table, so they have to kneel here. And then while Frank is showing that like you can even use your arm as a puppet stage, and he has like the wooden spoon behind his arm, Jim starts to interrupt him with a jester puppet who is like challenging the premise of like, that's not a stage, that's your hand. Look, there's fingers.
Is that? What the fuck? Leave him alone.
Yeah. And there's a moment, you'd have to rewatch this and like have this in your mind to see if it's there. There was a moment where I felt like Frank wanted to flip him off. Because Frank has his fist clenched as like his arms up for the puppet stage, and the jester comes in and is poking fun at him, and you see it's like the opposite of the Mr. Darcy moment in Pride and Prejudice, where Frank's hand like unclenches in a way and his fingers kind of do this like slow little movement where I'm like, I feel like he wants to flip him off and he's fighting his fingers from slipping into
such a natural impulse to flip Jim off.
Yeah, it was just like his like hand burst open like, I need to flip off this man, but my fingers don't do it. This is a children's television show. We can't ruin this take.
I see the moment that you're talking about.
Yeah, right?
Definitely his middle finger is in the forefront compared to the rest of them.
And the other fingers are sort of like, what do we do? What do we do? But this is when Jim picks up the jester puppet now and is showing him off and says just a delightful little moment where he's like, you can do things like this. And just flings the jester's hat around as he's making this noise.
You sure can do things like that.
Yeah, if you don't want to watch this whole special, you can watch that clip on our Instagram and Blue Sky, because really I watched this a couple weeks ago and thought that moment was delightful and had to share it with the world. And I think it's one of our most liked Instagrams of all time. Oh, Sam, while we're at it, I did also look up the Billboard 100 from 1969, so we can sort of see how things have changed since the Jimmy Dean days.
The Beatles are still around, but weird. Is that right?
Yeah, well, they're doing Get Back at this time.
Okay.
So Get Back came out. They're like wrapping things up.
Right.
But elsewhere we have Sugar Sugar from the Archies, Aquarius, Let the Sun Shine In from the Fifth Dimension.
We're getting into the 70s now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, this is the year of Woodstock. So we got some flower power happening here. But we also got Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond comes out this year. We got Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival. We got a lot of bands like Three Dog Night out there creeping around.
Yeah, lots of shaggy guys.
A lot of shaggy guys
big,
looking a lot like
guys.
these men who are trying to work your kids' minds with puppets.
That's right.
That's what parents are looking at this and like, is this CCR? And they're like, no, these Jim Henson, Frank Oz.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, honestly, I'm going to send you a link right now, Sam. You look at this picture and you tell me that's not Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and Ton Celine.
It's like Where's Waldo, where all the Waldos have like slightly different stripy shirts on.
You look at a picture of Creedence Clearwater Revival and you tell me those men don't work for the Muppets.
That's what my dad looked like too.
It is really funny. Like, I'm trying to imagine, we didn't live in 1969, so we don't really know what it was like. But I've seen movies. And so I'm imagining like sort of the uptight version of a Jim and Frank. Think of it like Almost Famous. You've seen the movie Almost Famous.
Mm-hmm.
You have the band dynamics of Billy Crudup and Jason Lee and all that. Imagine there's just like three other guys that look just like those guys off to the side being like, oh, hi, do you want to play with these puppets? It's like, no, we're going to go do drugs and ladies and play some rock music. Sorry, dude.
What? What are you're presupposing that Jim got on the tour bus with these guys?
No, I'm picturing it like they're crossing each other at like a TV studio or a hotel lobby, much in the way that we see sort of in the Saturday Night movie where they make Jim Henson the nerd. Like, I don't necessarily, I guess I've never thought that was an accurate portrayal of Jim Henson in the Saturday Night film until thinking about it in this very moment where in 1969, him and Frank look like the cool guys.
Uh-huh.
Like the guys who are cool and famous during this time look like they look.
That's true.
And so they could easily be mistaken for rock stars.
I guess so, but maybe if you were back in the 60s, you'd look at these two and be like, there's something indiscernible to us
that
that
makes
in
them
the
a square.
60s, they'd be like, those guys are fucking nerds. Yeah.
Maybe. Or maybe the moment they open their mouths and talk, you're like, oh, never mind. I'm not
Frank
worried.
looks like he is trying really hard to look like one of those guys to me, too.
I feel like from what I feel like I remember stories of Frank being a bit more of like just a normal dude than Jim was, because Jim had a family by this point and was had a lot going on running a business, had multiple children, whereas Frank was still, I think at this point, a young bachelor.
Yeah. So CCR would be like, hey, you want to go do some drugs? And Jim would be like, But Frank would be like, yeah, let's go do some drugs.
Let's go do some drugs, CCR. Let me call my friend Jerry Nelson.
Oh, yeah, that guy will do some drugs with you, I bet.
Well, there are some little moments throughout this where they're just sort of teaching us fun facts about puppetry. Frank talks a little bit about flowing fabric, making a puppet appear alive, and gives them a little bit more personality. But that doesn't go too far because Jim breaks out the rough Kermit puppet from the previous special, which is just a green sock with pink eyes. But Frank needs to keep this special on the tracks. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to talk about crowd scenes now. So let's have all 4 of these puppets go down and be a crowd. And he's talked about how the importance is remembering which voice you're doing at which point, because he's like, you got to remember which character's talking when you're moving the puppets.
Is this? Why is this like the first lesson we're learning about doing puppets?
Is do more than one puppet at a time?
Is do a crowd scene. Yeah. Like what?
I guess part of what they're showing here is, I think, some of the production value tips and tricks that elevate a puppet show from Punch and Judy to a Muppet production.
Okay. I suppose that makes
like
sense.
They're saying, yeah, it's easy to do a Punch and Judy. Everyone does a Punch and Judy.
Yeah.
If you want to elevate your show to be a little bit more than a Punch and Judy, here are some things you can do with your puppet show.
4 puppets.
4
Punch and
puppets.
Judy only has 2.
Punch and Judy, Tom and Dick. You got 'em.
Get some more guys in there.
This does lead to maybe my favorite line of this special, which is they're talking about having a crowd scene. They're like, you know what? Just have the puppets talk over each other, have some general hubbub amongst the crowd. And one of, I think, Jim's characters says, General Hubbub, I knew him well. But they show us how to do a chase scene with 2 puppets, which is just move puppets fast.
Yeah, this all just comes down to just move them.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
But I guess if you're a baby who's just hearing, like you said, just hearing the word puppet for the first time, this is okay.
Well, and I think the nice thing here is that all of this is seated so that it comes back later during the nursery rhyme section at the very end.
That's true. Yeah.
Where you see all of these things pay off, where you see them doing some hubbub with the 3 fiddlers. You see a chase scene with some zipping around. And so all of these things they're teaching us are things that they are paying off later on.
I do also kind of like that they keep saying, like, your show has to actually be about something. Have a story. You can't just get out there and not do anything.
But also saying that, like, it should be a story that you can only do with puppets. Like, it shouldn't just be 2 puppets talking. It shouldn't be too realistic, because why the hell are you making a puppet show?
Yeah, that's true. That
I
is
feel like the creators
advice.
of the 2015 ABC series were like, oh, no. That was our whole thing.
Maybe that's why the part where Fozzie's dating a human is the best part, because you could only do that with Fozzie.
I guess. But I think that what other people would argue is that that's just a normal sitcom plot where you could have 2 humans doing similar jokes.
The concept is of puppets dating a human.
Yes.
By definition, you can only do that with a puppet.
True. Well, Jim pulls out Harry the Hipster, who he mentions is a member of the puppet troupe. And this is part we have seen before, where they're basically just talking about different personalities of puppets, whereas Harry the Hipster is a cool guy. And then this little girl puppet that Frank is puppeteering is just sort of more timid and shy.
What year did Sam and Friends end?
66, I believe, 65 or 66.
Okay.
So it's been a few years.
I feel like they've forgotten who Harry is a little bit. He's kind of mean in this, and kind of like his voice is a little different, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like he's always been a little bit like, he tried to pull one over on Kermit at one point. I feel like selling him a weather machine or weather in boxes or something like that. Like, he's been a little bit of a stinker.
I feel like he's less Harry the Hipster and more just Harry now. He's not as much like, hey, what's going on?
He's not doing the...
Yeah.
I mean, maybe hipsters are on their way out.
I bet they are. Yeah, I bet they are. There's hippies now.
Oh, Harry the Hippie. His cousin.
Oh, yeah.
Just take one of those long wigs and put it on Harry. Well, we get next finger puppets, which is when it starts to feel like it's going on maybe a little bit away from the hand puppet promise they made at the beginning. You're like, okay, technically that's still a hand puppet.
Finger's
but
part of your hand, Matt.
it's not a hand puppet.
Yeah.
And we then start to quickly move away from hand puppets into this is how to make a puppet show, because the next thing we do is talk about the importance of music. And Jim introduces this next piece where we just took 2 tubes. This is a piece that Frank designed here, 2 flexible tubes, and they do a kind of dance to a record of Java.
Honestly, maybe if they had dwelled on this a little bit longer, because I think that is good advice, is because that's where Jim started too, basically.
Mhm.
It's like do something to something somebody already did.
Right. Lip sync, do the music stuff. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, they mention it a few times, but not in a way that he's really laying down the importance of.
He doesn't say, you should do this first.
This worked
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Like, I got famous because I did this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not the first time they performed Java. This is like the 5th
He's like
time.
a TikTok guy. That's like the same thing.
This is the TikTok of its day. I like Frank's character being like, I don't believe it. 2 vacuum cleaner tubes? This I've got to see. And so I think this might be the last time they performed the white tube version of Java.
Oh, yeah, right.
But they had performed it already on Ed Sullivan and things like that. And then
they
after
could afford
this,
some colorful tubes after.
yeah, they did these special PBS specials, and they're like, woohoo, let's paint those guys
We're
orange.
saving up some money for some colored tubes.
Yeah. But these white ones are on display at the Museum of the Moving Image in New York. You can go look at them.
wow.
And I just love Java anytime we see it. And
Yeah, it's
clearly they do too, because it is the end credits sequence for both of these specials is just Java again.
Well, people want to hear that hits, you know?
But then who's here, Sam? A very specific frozen in time version of Kermit the Frog. He is not yet famous, but maybe he's a little drunk and mean.
He's being mean. Yeah, and he says, hey, Frank, baby.
He's got Frog Prince energy. Like, this is the same energy he has in Frog Prince, which makes sense. They like just made that, I think.
Right.
But he comes in and he's like, I'm watching you make your little dummies here. It doesn't really tell you much how to do a puppet show.
Yeah. Young, brash, dickhead Kermit.
Yeah. And Frank's like, hey, Kermit. And he says, hey there, Frank, baby. And Frank tries to play with him and is like, I haven't seen you since the pond. And Jim's like, the pond? What are you talking about?
He doesn't live in a pond, you idiot. What are you, stupid or something?
And because Kermit has not yet reached the peaks of his Sesame Street fame, Jim starts to just pull him off his hand.
Takes him right off. It's scary.
He calls him a frog-type Muppet. And that he
What
says,
was that, like
Kermit's a frog-type Muppet.
Pokemon.
He's a frog-type. He says Kermit's a frog-type Muppet that we use in our little routines that we do.
So dismissive.
And then he just piles Kermit on top of the other puppets on the table. And he just lays there dead for the rest of the show.
It is interesting how much better Kermit looks than every other puppet that they show. He's so well made.
Yeah. Like, even the Grover we get next, you're like, yeah, he looks fine, but like, you know, he's not the star.
Yeah, Kermit is the same still to this day.
Worth noting, there is some legacy of this special that lives on today in the world of the Muppets. Most specifically, there is a new little golden book about Jim Henson that came out recently. And the writer-illustrator of that is Luke Flowers. And inside of there's at least Paperface makes an appearance inside of that golden book. But I'm also pretty sure the old lady Spoon character appears somewhere in there.
Sounds right to me, too. But yes, Scary Paperface is in there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Flowers rules also. If you don't follow Luke Flowers,
absolutely.
Go find him on Instagram.
Very good art. But yeah, the idea that Paperface is one of the puppets that lives on is shocking.
It's one of those fun updates to Muppet Wiki where it's like last seen in, but previously said last seen in 1969, then gets to say 2026.
I don't even know if Paperface has a Muppet Wiki page.
Maybe now she gets one.
Now she deserves one at least.
Yeah.
Well, that is when Proto Grover pops up. We've talked about this again in episode 6. We talked about this. We talked about it a little bit earlier in this episode. But basically, this is just the first version of Grover insisting that he is awful. He's a bad guy. And aside from that, the only thing we learn is that he calls a Smurf his brother.
Mm-hmm. I guess that kind of made, like, they sort of, in the Frackle monstery world, they're sort of a unit, I would say.
I also feel like it's literally they're cut from the same cloth.
They've sprung from the same primordial ooze. Yeah, they are.
Like they use the same piece of
That's
fuzzy
right.
brown fabric to make both these puppets. And so he's like, oh, brother. But this one does end with him saying, I'm going to go do bad stuff.
I'm going
Bye.
to do some bad stuff. Grover. Grover's always great, even when he's not quite Grover yet.
Sam, I need to tell you about my new mission in life.
What?
So my daughter has this book called You're My Little Cookie Monster. It's a very sweet little Sesame Street board book that I read to her. There's a page in there which is talking about Grover and how he's helpful. And on that page, it shows him being a waiter to Mr. Johnson. And so when we read that book, I point out Mr. Johnson and name Mr. Johnson in the book.
Uh-huh.
So that in the hopes that one day my daughter, when she can actually speak and talk, will be like naming her favorite Muppets. And she'll be like, Elmo, Grover, Mr. Johnson, Cookie Monster.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Johnson ranks up there. I like that idea. It's funny to call Grover helpful and show that as an example.
Yeah. It's like there's an Oscar page that's like, hey, not every day's going to be great. That's okay. And you're like, that's an Oscar thought. The Grover one is like, he's always here to lend a helping hand. And you're like, okay.
Like actually the most aggressive character on the entire show, probably.
Yeah. Also causing a lot of the problems that you're saying he's here to help with.
But I think in those new cartoons, his trait is that he is like trying to solve everybody's problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, hopefully one day my daughter can say her favorite Muppet is Mr. Johnson.
What's that? Weaponized incompetence. That's what he displays.
But that means, I think that's more of an Ernie thing. Like, that's somebody who knows what they're doing. I think Grover is just incompetent.
I think when he's a waiter and he goes back into the thing and he's like talking to the cook, and he's like, this asshole wants it. Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. I guess
I don't think he realizes that he has made a mistake that led to that problem, though. Like,
I suppose that's
I think
true.
he thinks the Mr. Johnson is an idiot.
Yeah.
I don't think he realizes that he's doing anything wrong.
Wow, what a great character. Also funny that he thinks his thing is that he's cute.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say he's not very cute. Do you think he's cute?
Grover?
Yeah.
I think Grover's cute. You'd hug Grover.
He's kind of ugly cute, like one of those smush-faced cats,
Also, I think hugging Grover, well, I would, obviously. He's skinny.
Yeah.
So you're going to feel
Frank's
wrist.
You'd feel like an arm in there, yeah.
You're going to hug an arm and realize, I'm hugging an arm.
I think that's what he's just so similar to Frank Oz.
Think about hugging somebody's arm around the wrist. Like, that's a weird thing to do.
There's got to be a little bit of puff in there for
a little bit
when a kid hugs it. Oh, that would be scary.
Well, the next segment is Jim designing and building a balloon-based monster puppet while Frank describes that it's nice to add these visual gags to your puppets because when you defeat a paper monster, you can crumple him up, or when you defeat a balloon monster, you can pop his head.
This is the part when they're like, this is going to be so cool. We're building this guy. We're going to talk about for a long time.
I mean, Sam, we get something that I'm going to say, I don't know if we've ever seen it, but if we have, it's definitely a rarity.
What is it?
A Muppet with a knife.
Oh, yeah. He does have a knife. It's like a little box cutter kind of thing, but yeah.
That's scarier for some reason. I think if Elmo had a butcher knife, that's not as scary as a jester with a box cutter.
Oh, yeah. A jester with a box cutter. That's like Halloween Horror Nights kind of thing.
This is Puppet Master. Toulon's Revenge all over again.
Watch out, Toulon. They're coming after you.
But he lifts up a jester puppet that's holding a real knife, and you can tell they both immediately become a little nervous because Jim's as the monster is like, you'll never get me. And Frank says, oh, yes, I will. If you stand still, I'll get you. And says, you better stand still.
Him swooshing past Jim's hand with his knife.
He's so easily, this could have ended in a horrible moment of him stabbing Jim Henson in a tendon that ruined his puppetry career.
Yeah, there is there's like a William Tell aspect to this for sure.
But he pops the nose of the creature, which they definitely planned on. They're like, that was perfect. Great job, Frank. And then he goes to stab the monster in the head. And as Frank describes it, it didn't pop, it petered.
Yeah.
Because it, does what a balloon often does, which is slowly let out air and wrinkles up. And I think it kind of looks cool and
I think it's
creepy.
Yeah.
But they both seem very disappointed, and they were hoping for a big pop of his head.
He looks defeated, but not dead. He looks like he could recover from this.
Right. He's got
which is fine.
Somehow balloon head has returned energy.
Yeah.
But they move on because they're both disappointed that his head didn't pop. So Jim tells us about the elements of making a good puppet show. And this is where he said things have to have action, where the puppets are doing something. You want to show, don't tell. And this is when he talks about if you have something you could do better with actors, it's not a good puppet show. It should be something uniquely puppet. And Frank says if two puppets are talking, any two actors can talk on stage, but they can't have special little effects. They'd hurt themselves. And this is when it feels like, I'm sure we do this from time to time. I hear podcasts do this. When people have to fill time and talk about things, they kind of start taking strong stances on things that maybe they wouldn't 100% agree with themselves later on that day. If you said, hey, so you should never do a scene of two puppets just talking. Do you think that's real? They'd be like, oh, no, I don't think that at all.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
We do a lot of stuff we do a lot of stuff on the Muppet Show eventually that's just a Muppet singing, and people could do that.
Yeah, they sing, they ride bikes. It's like people ride bikes. Come on, Jim.
You said if there's special effects and that people would get hurt all the time. Is that true?
Have you heard of stuntmen, Frank?
Yeah.
But then Jim pivots into doing something that I post Sesame Street and post a little bit more fame. I think Jim's going to realize he shouldn't do, which is be publicly rude. He starts off a sentence with, some of the worst puppetry is where people trying to do an exact duplication of real life. They try to move it like people, and you can't do it.
Well, okay, that also he wouldn't agree with himself years later when he's doing like Jim Henson Presents the World of Puppetry.
Yeah, like, his friend who does the little sad ballerina doll, Bruce Schwartz.
Yeah.
He's going to be pissed if he hears Jim say he should not be trying to replicate real life.
I think like even like Dark Crystal stuff is sort of like the whole creature ethos is trying to get realistic movement out of these fantastical things and make a world that you can like fall into and think is realistic.
But they go on to tell us if you're going to do your first puppet show, don't do a big formal show. Get the puppets, start working with them, do it for your friends and family.
This I think is good advice.
Yeah. Especially if you're a child. If you are a 24-year-old mustachioed man,
I think
it's
even
a little
if
weirder.
You are, I think it's like, don't put too much pressure on yourself to do it right, to do it like perfect the first time, or you'll just never even do it. It's kind of, I feel like what they're saying.
I was thinking we need to take a trip to Chicago, Sam, and go to the Sugar Hole.
What is the Sugar Hole? The
Sugar Hole is an ice cream shop operated by puppets.
What? I've never heard of this before.
Mm-hmm.
What?
It's like a window that you walk up to buy ice cream, and puppets work there.
How long has this been around?
That's a good question. I actually don't know. I think it's gotten popular in the last couple of years, but I don't know if it's fairly new.
What? I've never heard of this. This is great.
But this is another thing you can do if you have puppets and want to do something with them, is open an ice cream shop.
Well, have you seen Puppet Bike?
I know of Puppet Bike.
Also a Chicago thing?
Jim also recommends getting books from your local library, including puppetry books from Marjorie Batchelder. I looked up her books, and while unfortunately they are not available at our local library, her Puppet Theater Handbook book has a great cover on it.
Ooh, yeah. Beautiful illustrated thing with a castle.
Yeah, it's like a red and white book cover. Great font, great illustrations. It's a complete guide for the puppeteer. So I imagine a very handy book for Jim back in the day. It goes on for Jim to talk about special effects like explosions on stage. And he's like, yeah, we always do a lot of explosions with our Muppets. And they reveal that the secret to these explosions is talcum powder with a hose, a funnel, and a little bit of tape.
I did always wonder if it was flash paper or something like that.
Well, and the tape is the more interesting part of this to me, because they have like essentially a beer bong. They have a hose hooked up to a funnel.
Yeah.
And he talks about how you can't just like blow into it and blow the talcum powder everywhere, because it would just like go out in a stream.
Right.
So you have to like put all these little pieces of tape across the top so that it comes out and like scatters, which works really well. They show off an example where they count down to 3. Frank is really excited for this to happen. I think maybe he thinks Jim is going to get covered in powder. Because he's like, come on, let's do it. Let's do the explosion. I'll do the noise. You do it.
Yeah.
And they do. They do show off a big explosion. And Jim sort of like waves the talcum powder out of the air. I don't know why. I think it's fine, Jim. You can leave it. But it moves on from there in a pretty natural transition to talking about sound effects and using a tape recorder to make sound effects. And we get some gross mouth noises from Frank Oz, who says he's been training 14 years to do some horse noises.
Yeah, the horse noises.
Yeah. Which I will say, when he does them in the moment, just sound kind of gross and not great. But they play back the tape, and it sounds like a horse to me.
The guy knows what he's doing, Matt. Come on.
I also realized in this moment, because they are worried that the tape recorder isn't going to be picked up by the mics they have, they're wearing like necklace mics around their neck.
That's what those are.
Yeah, it's like a giant mic around their neck as a necklace.
I, for some reason, was like, yeah, I just thought Frank had a cool necklace on.
Strong
like
sartorial choices from Frank Oz.
Yeah.
No, I believe that's like an early version of a lav mic.
You're right. I think you're right.
But they start wrapping up the special by saying, "We like to think simple is good," as a sort of a motto here. Then Jim pulls out a journal from the Puppeteers of America and encourages you to write to them. And all he says is, like, call them at Puppetry of America in Ojai, California. And because operators were still a thing back then, that's all you had to do was pick up the phone and say, "Give me the Puppetry of America in Ojai, California."
And somebody was there to answer the phone.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, it's like always ready. Like, I heard Jim's doing a special. We should probably be ready. But they wrap up the whole thing with a little puppet show hosted by Paperface, featuring the king with his eyebrows from earlier. And they do Little Miss Muffet and a bunch of other nursery rhymes while showing us all the puppetry skills they've taught us over the last half hour-ish. Do you feel like you learned a lot about puppets?
I feel like if I was an adult, I would take away more of. I'm just curious what like a kid would get from this, because there's a long amount of time where it's just two men leaning on their shoulders talking about like how to find an audience, and but yeah, maybe just seeing it is enough to be like, I'm inspired. These guys.
I feel like the right kind of kid, like a Jim Henson kind of kid, is going to watch this and be like, I must get cardboard. I must make my stage. I must find my audience. Like when you read Richard Hunt's biography, you read about him creating a puppet show and like getting paid to do other kids' birthday parties in his neighborhood. And it's like, that's where I think these kids exist. It's like they're the ones being like, okay, I just need a little bit of a push and like a little bit of a start where they're like, I want to make a puppet. I want to make a puppet stage. I don't really know how to do that other than like buying these things from the store, and my parents don't want to do that. So what can I do? Yeah.
I think very often the only thing a lot of people need is just to know that something exists and you can do it if you want to.
Right. And I think that's why maybe if they did another segment of this, one that is about building a stage or building sets and props maybe would be helpful to take it that extra level. Because I think they've shown a lot of like, you can use things around the house to make your puppets. And then talked about having a stage and things. And like, yeah, they say you can use your couch, you can use the doorway, these kinds of things. But I think if they could show a little bit more of like how to elevate it, and maybe that's what this show would be if they did more specials of it.
Yeah. And especially so much of like, I feel like so much of Jim's early thoughts were changing the way that like the stage was for puppets, and even like introducing the idea of it to some degree, or using the TV screen as a stage. So he probably has a lot of interesting thoughts about it, is right. Except don't use your arm. He doesn't think that you can do that.
Yeah, that's stupid. It's like, I brought puppets to TV and taught everyone the TV can be a stage, Frank. We don't need to go backwards. Yeah. Don't use your arm.
I've heard a lot of dumb shit in my life, Frank, but that really took the cake.
Well, and even there's a moment where they're playing with like two puppets and Jim is trying to crouch down and be really hid behind the table, and Frank is not doing that. He's just like standing next to him doing it. And Jim's like, oh no, you saw my sleeve there. And you can tell Frank's like, okay, and like, I'm standing right here in full view.
The hell? And Jim's like, you can puppet much better when you're under the table,
Frank. Well, I'm glad we finally got to see the full versions of those. I know it wasn't a lot of context to add, but we get to see these two weird men again. It was really nice.
Yeah, we're going back to the beginning.
Well, and knowing that like in the stuff we're watching now, these two are barely on set together. Like even when we do get Piggy and Kermit doing something, like it's once a year at an award show or something. and it's
they're
like
using
5 minutes.
Motorized remote control puppets and are creating super realistic gorgons and stuff like that.
Obviously, we'll get a little bit more of this kind of thing with Muppets at Walt Disney World, but we don't have a lot of Jim and Frank stuff left to watch. So I'm glad we paused to look back and get a little bit of extra Jim and Frank. One thing we will watch in a few weeks, which I'm excited to check out, is there's an internal Disney reel that they essentially made to like tell Disney how they make the Muppets from like a philosophical point of view. And
what the heck?
Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and Michael Frith sitting down to talk through like, hey, Disney folks, here's what you need to know about Muppets for 35 minutes.
Intended to only be like a behind the scenes thing, like a
I believe so. I think
thing?
I think it's to help Disney employees like know how to make Muppet things, like
That's
either
really
rides or shows or whatever. And so we'll watch that in a couple weeks.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
All right, Sam, well, before we get out of here and go back to the 90s next week, I got to ask, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
I saw Minions and Monsters, the big movie everybody's talking about.
Everyone's talking about this
featuring
movie.
a Cyclops. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, my favorite character, the guy with the one eye. Yeah, saw his movie for sure.
I thought it was really great. I loved it. It's directed by the director of the first one or two Despicable Me movies, who hasn't made the other Minions movies, a different director. And it's not really connected to any of the movies at all. It's kind of just like Minions devoid of context in the 20s directing movies for some reason.
It's like a reboot a little bit.
It's not. I don't know. It feels like he's looked at what they have done since he hasn't been directing them. I mean, he's voiced the Minions.
That's not where I would take it.
So he's aware, but yes, it does feel like he's like, oh, but what if they did this instead? And there are a couple of things, like if you read like the Reddit or whatever, it's like, actually, the canon has previously established that the Minions didn't do this, but this movie is kind of like overriding some of that stuff. But mostly it's just like full of old movie references. It's just like a movie about making movies, kind of a movie about like reckoning with, I think the message is a little muddled to me, but it feels like a message about reckoning with creating monsters. And maybe there's a little bit of it that's like, I unleash the minions on the world.
Damn it.
Here's what that means. Because there are a few parts where it's like, there's even Minions merchandise. Like they get really popular in the 20s and everybody has Minion fever. But it's so cute and so pretty and so like, it's not annoying like you maybe would think. I think I like the Minions unironically now, because there's so much like,
you're like 5 minutes away from posting Minion memes on your Facebook page,
but not as a joke, just for real.
Yes.
Yeah,
like any good adult.
And I guess sort of similarly to that, we also for some reason watched the first two Guardians of the Galaxies movies.
I just recently revisited both of those as well,
which have Baby Groot in them, who's kind of a minion in his own right, I would say. He's a minion-esque character.
Yeah.
And I think they probably, you're going to disagree with me, maybe. They feel like they hold up better than anything else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
No, those are both great. I think they, especially as somebody who's now like watching through everything, like having that levity in the middle of some very over-the-top dramatic stuff, like very good to have those actually funny movies. And
I also feel like because they are set in space with a character who is already like nostalgic, they won't show their age in the same way that like a Captain America's like clothing will look in those movies, or like the, I don't know, certain like pieces of technology will start to look silly or something like that. But I mean, I don't know. I for some reason have it in my head that I didn't like the second one that much, but this time I was like, what's not to like about that? I'm crying at the end. Yondu's dead.
Yeah. I think for me, the second one feels weirdly paced, and not in like necessarily a bad way, but it sort of is like over by the time you realize like what's been happening.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's not as much of like a clear, like ABC kind of plot. Like it feels like an episode of a television show, just longer.
Because everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and then at the end, it all kind of smashes into each other.
And like sort of by the time you realize what sort of the thing is, it feels like something that would happen at the beginning of a movie, but you realize you're sort of like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and you're like, oh, I guess this is the movie that we're watching. I thought this was like a side story.
It's a little bit more of a, it's like in anime or whatever, it's like one of those, like a filler episode, like where they go to the beach or something like that.
Big anime head over here today, Sam.
Yeah.
Everything's an anime.
But to me, I didn't remember how much Rocket Raccoon was part of the second one. And I think he's my favorite. The third one? Yes. Yeah, totally.
He's a big part of that one.
This was really like the beginning of him being like, I know he's sort of sad in the first one, but in the second one, it really starts to bring in the like, oh, he's not just like funny sad. He's actually sad.
Yeah, there was things in the second one having, again, also recently rewatched it, that I thought were from the third movie as far as his personality growth. And I was like, oh, they did plant this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, but I'm excited to watch the third one. I haven't decided if I'm going to watch Endgame and Infinity War or whatever before I watched the third one. Just
there's a holiday special too, right?
And there's a holiday special, which I remember really liking. Yeah.
I've never seen that one.
I thought it was pretty cute.
Yeah.
But so that's what I watched. 2 movies with a character in it that moms love to post memes about. What about you? I heard you saw The Odyssey.
I did. I went and saw that by myself on Friday. Took off work just to go see it.
Did you like it? Was it worth making that decision?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely, the cliche of you got to see it in the theaters kind of movie. It definitely is very much that.
That he pulled it off, that crazy son of a bitch.
And that's the thing is, like, I feel like if you don't like Christopher Nolan movies that much, you probably won't like this movie. Like, it's a Nolan-ass movie, which, like, my biggest critique of Nolan movies is that sometimes scenes feel like they're trailer scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the music is like, and like the 2 characters are saying lines like they're waiting for a title card to come up in between their lines in some ways, and the editing's very quick. And you're like, oh, we're just in the middle of the movie, but it feels like a trailer. And that's a thing in like most of his movies, like at least since the Batman era, have that kind of feeling to them. But this has that a few times throughout it. But honestly, like very, very quick 3 hours. Like it did not feel like it dragged on. Everyone's amazing in it. I think there's an argument to be made that it could be nominated for like every category at the Oscars aside from like short film and foreign film and animated.
I wouldn't be shocked if it was.
Because it's like the special effects are great. The acting's all great. No real complaints. And like there's some things in there that like my film school brain is like, I need to talk about that one shot for 6 hours.
I gotta see this thing. Everybody's going crazy about it. It looks so stupid to me, but
I mean,
I think it's just honestly just because of Matt Damon.
I mean, he's great in it. It's probably like his best thing he's ever done.
It's just so funny it's like, it feels like something from 30 Rock or something to be like the Odyssey with Matt Damon.
I think that's, why I think that is?
Why?
Because of the way he's treated by the MCU.
Why? What do you mean?
He's in the MCU twice. He plays like actor Loki.
Oh, yeah, right.
Who gets killed off. And then he's maybe in a Deadpool movie as like a weird side character or something.
Yeah.
But like, I think so often he shows up as like a joke.
Oh, yeah, he's in Deadpool too.
Yeah. Right. And so he doesn't necessarily, like he plays the lead, obviously, in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But I think he is also equally treated as a joke guy sometimes.
I guess that's kind of similar to like Leonardo DiCaprio at this point too, where it's like, obviously they're some of the like biggest actors of our time and of all time. Mm-hmm. But also there's just something maybe, I don't know, there's something a little funny about an aging movie star is also part of it. But then you can also easily channel that into there's something kind of like poignant about an aging movie star.
Yes.
And make movies about that.
This movie, I think, does a lot with talking about age and, intergenerational drama. And, I think it's I don't know. I loved it. I loved everyone in it. I liked Oppenheimer better, but like, And
It's one of those movies that my dad's like, I gotta see this movie. And that's when you know that a movie's gonna make $1 billion. When your dad is like, I gotta see this in the theaters.
Well, and that's what it felt like when I was like the people who were there seeing the movie at the same time as I did. I was like, yep. All of these are the people that it makes sense to see at the Odyssey on a Friday morning at 10 o'clock.
Was it a lot of old people?
It was some old people, but also like a lot of guys who looked like me. Like probably film school guys. Some families, but like not like little kids, but like teenagers.
You could have made some new best friends there, probably.
Yeah. But like, it was like literally like to the left of me was like 4 dudes who looked just like me, and to the right of me was 3 dudes who looked just like me in 50 years.
Everybody was named Matt.
Yeah, if I had said Matt, they'd all be like, huh? But no, I think it's really good. I've watched if you have Peacock, there's a behind the scenes making of documentary that's on there. That's also really interesting and good. That shows just like how much of it was actually practical. And like, obviously there's some things they had to do CGI, like a Cyclops and other things, but they really went to like all of these places. And I think that's the one thing you can watch or the one thing you can feel when you're watching it is like, it feels like they traveled the world to film this.
You can just really tell, and it feels so refreshing when a place uses a real set.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's just like, walking through a forest or just being on top of a mountain and staring off into the ocean, like all these things where you're just like, this doesn't feel fake or phony. And I think that's the thing is like, that's why I think it's so impressive in the spots where they have to be doing something that's a special effect or CGI or something because it's in the middle of 20 scenes that didn't use any of that.
Right.
Or weren't as big of a spectacle. You're just like, it feels real in a way, or it feels more real than other movies do because you're just like, I believe this because everything else feels very believable.
Yeah. That makes sense. That really makes sense.
Which I know
Did
is
you
like,
see Mandalorian and Grogu? Speaking of the opposite of that?
Okay, I did not.
Curious.
I know there's a YouTube channel called The Movie Rabbit Hole who did a series of videos a while back that went viral about how no CGI is just invisible CGI. And how like a lot of movies come out these days and they're like, we didn't use any CGI. It was all shot practically, all this stuff. And he talks about how everyone's lying when they say that.
Right.
And so he just did a video that came out yesterday that's like an hour long called Nolan's CGI is really just invisible CGI. And like what it is like Nolan's not somebody who necessarily hides the fact that he uses CGI and visual effects. Like you think of Batman Begins, like there's a lot of CGI in that. But he is somebody who, if he can do it practically first, he will do it practically. And they talk about in that, they show interviews from him. One of his things is he always wants to like start a scene and end a scene on a real practical thing. And in the middle, he can do CGI, but he wants to like plant it in the real world at the end. So it's like if he has a CGI train scene at the end, he wants to use like a miniature or a shot of a real train. So you're like more likely to believe everything you just saw.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Like in the Odyssey, there's the scene with the Cyclops, I guess spoilers for a 3,000-year-old story. But they're in a cave and they get cornered by the Cyclops in this cave. They went to, I think, Greece to film in the cave that is where Zeus was supposedly born. And they like shot in this cave with like a flock of sheep and they rigged up the cave to have movie cameras and lights and everything all over it. And you're just like,
oh, wow.
Nobody's doing that though.
Yeah.
Like people are just going to put the Grogu in a volume, LED
Get
screen
in the
and be
volume.
like, who needs to go to Greece?
Yeah. Let's go take a picture of the cave where Zeus was born. Then we can put that in the volume.
But also I finished Ghost of Yote this week, Sam, and I loved it. And it was great. And it took me 9 months or whatever to beat that game.
That's
but
good.
it was really good.
Sometimes you got to have, I mean, at least you don't have to buy a bunch of games. You just have that one game you can play.
Yeah. Well, next time, Sam, I promise you, we are actually going to go into the 1990s. And we are going to stay there for a while because we are going to go through January of 1990 by watching an episode of The Cosby Show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
A monkey's paw.
Well, it gets even more monkey's paw because it's Bill Cosby who is going to interact with a bunch of Jim Henson Hour characters. So Muppets that we wouldn't necessarily be longing to see again.
A show that was already canceled, but they didn't know that when they were shooting it, I assume.
Yes, with a man who was not yet canceled.
Yeah.
So we'll watch that. It's an episode called Cliff's Nightmare from January 11th, 1990, where Cliff Huxtable eats a meatball sub and has some bad dreams.
Okay.
And part of that is seeing Muppets.
It's seeing Muppets. It's seeing Digit.
Yeah. And this episode, I think it's on, for some people in our Discord, it is on Prime Video. They've seen it. They can watch it. I have tried to find it there. Some other people tried to find it there. It's hard to find. I have found it in multiple parts across the internet. So we might watch like a weird cobbled together version of this that has varying qualities.
Okay.
We'll watch it in some way. I'm not sure how yet.
What happened?
I don't know. Some people have like screenshotted me their Prime Video and it says it's there. And I open mine and it's not there. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But other than The Cosby Show, we will also watch a very, very brief scene from a British show called The New Statesman, Who Shot Alan Bastard, simply because it is like a 15-second clip, and it's the Creature Shop made a creepy mask. So
Who Shot Alan Bastard? What does any of this mean?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
We're just going to watch a creepy mask happen.
Okay.
But we'll also watch from January 24th, 1990, Joan Gans Cooney being inducted into the Television Hall of Fame, which will feature, Sesame Street things. And then on February 4th, 1990, we will watch the Disneyland's 35th anniversary celebration, which again, we only have to watch 8 minutes of for this, but is something that I may just go ahead and watch
the whole thing. I'm going to watch
45 minutes long, so it's not
I think I'm
a
going to
lot.
watch it.
And yeah, but we do have to watch a whole episode of The Cosby Show. So that's up to you. I will let you watch it if you'd like. I'm probably going to watch it because it seems
I think I'll need to watch something uplifting after The Cosby
That's fair
Show.
because Bill Cosby also in the Joan Gans Cooney television
Oh, man.
induction.
We're in the Cosby era for sure now.
Thankfully, I don't think we have to interact with him much anymore on this podcast, but we definitely do have to deal with him next week.
Okay.
But for now, we're going to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to kermitment.com for all your Kermitment needs. And while you're listening to this podcast, don't forget to rate, review, comment on it, do all those fun podcasty things that let other people know we exist. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at mail@kermitment.com or follow us on social media at kermitmentpod or at kermitment.com on Blue Sky. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.